to the commissioners, we had been talking about this in our leadership department head meetings for some time because of the directive with the board, wanting to know new employees, different things like that. And so the consensus from the department heads is that we wanted something to, we used to do this years ago. Kind of gone away with it. COVID changed a lot of things, so we're trying to reintroduce this. So we wanted to start more informal. And so we wanted to start more informal. And so this is a thought that it would just be from 8:30 to 8:55. At the first board meeting of the month, I would purchase just cookies or donuts, coffee. Commissioners kind of would be coming in, very informal. Maybe the department head would bring up the staff. There would maybe be, sometimes there could be 1 or 2, sometimes there could be 7. We haven't seen more than 7 because it would be, so let's say if we started in June, anybody, if we wanted to play catch up, we could, but anybody who was hired in May would come to the June meeting. And I think this could evolve over the years, or even within a short 6 months. We just want staff to get comfortable coming and talking to you, more or less. I know some commissioners voiced that, this is their time to prep for the meetings, and I totally understand that. But we did talk about that as well at the department head meeting. We're not paying mileage for commissioners to come into another meeting. We don't have to post that we have having a quorum on a separate date. And you guys all have really busy schedules. We understand that, but we thought this is a way, let's just try it. If it works, we can keep it. If we need to kind of modify and fine tune it, we can continue to do that. This was just something that we want, that we're just kind of seeping in right now. Get staff comfortable coming up here. That podium sometimes can be scary to stand at because you hear a little reverb. And so just being comfortable with it, more or less, coming up here, and you are all human beings, more or less. And so that was really the concept behind it and nothing more. And I mean, it's, I respect the board's decision if you don't want to do that.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I think it's an excellent idea that we connect with the staff, and I'm just so used to a formal presentation, and I understand that it's too formal, and I would like to see us do something. I'm a little concerned, though, that at the first part of the meeting, to me, our board meetings, our 2 board meetings are most important meetings we have, or I have anyway. And all this is kind of prep time, but not only prep time, but it's a time for the board to bond together, this first part. And I just took, for example, today I came here and I was here about 22, which would have been time. Well, I was just busy talking to somebody in the audience, connecting with Caroline about this. I was doing this, and I would lose probably some of that connections. Or if we had a public hearing, what are we going to do? There's an audience here. And before the meetings start, they come early. I connect with them. Or I connect with Scott about my computer, getting online with it. So all these things are taking place, and I just feel we make such big decisions here that we need that. What we have is working well, and I think myself personally, I get mentally in this mode for this board meeting, and I'm thinking that maybe there's another option instead of having it right away. Can we somehow work it in at the end of the meeting or when we adjourn the meeting? And it seems to me like our meetings have been getting shorter compared to years ago, and that we could have time that, say, at 11 or 11:30 or something, we would get together informally, but it'd be after the meeting that we could have an informal thing. Or we could just take a recess in the middle of the meeting, but I'm not sure we want to do that. But I would rather look at some other options than just right before. That's my own personal. Or even do it quarterly and make it a bigger one for an hour meeting and be more people. I don't know. And I think there's also some discussion, do we just start with new employees, or you try to go back, and how far do we go back, and so how many people would that involve? But there's a lot of commotion right before our meeting, and I think it's important that we come in here. We don't get together as board members because of meeting law, but we do come in here early enough and we don't talk about stuff, but we say, you know, how are the grandkids or how are you feeling or this thing? And we have that connection, not talking about work. And I think, I don't want to lose that as well. So that's my feeling on it. But I think it's an excellent idea and we got to figure out how to do it.
Commissioner Anderson, Dale Anderson.
I think it's a good thing. I mean, I guess I would rather do it right away in the morning because we don't know what our end is. I get what you're saying, Corky, but, you know, maybe we need to be here early ourselves then and get here at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, or, I mean, to me, it's like we just have to adjust what we're doing ourselves. Because I don't think this is going to be an every meeting occurrence or in every other month, you know, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen all the time.
I think
It
it will.
is.
Think it will?
They're
Look
saying
at our
that-
turnover, it'll be every.
Well, then it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that it's a good thing to do. I don't know the new employees here, and for me, the names and the faces to put it together would mean a lot. So I think however we can work it out and make it work, whether we come earlier or whatever we do, I think it's a good thing to do.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've said this, I think, multiple times now, but the greatest asset that we have as a county are the people who work for us. And I think it's important for us to at least make sure that, you know, we have that conversation, even if it's just to say hello. Where are you from? What are you working? Just giving them a few minutes of our time ahead of a scheduled meeting, I think is a good idea. I think, you know, for the most part, we're all already here by 8:30, 8:45, and this isn't anything formal, I don't think, is it? This is just a brief meet and greet, hello, how are you, that type of thing. I just, think we're maybe overthinking this just a little bit, but that's just me.
Dwayne?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. So I just think it's a good thing. We haven't been doing it much in the past, but we did about a month ago. Dr. King came in when he got hired, and it worked out fine for us. And, you know, if there were, 10 people coming in, maybe then it would maybe be more of an issue. But I think it's fine because while I'm setting up, I can easily talk with somebody and at least get to know them a little bit or get introduced to them. And I think it's worth a try.
So, where I go with this is just this morning, Kelsey and I exchanged emails yesterday and about something, and she said, well, we should discuss this, and I was 1 minute late for starting this meeting because we spent almost the entire half hour I was here early discussing that. I think it's a great idea. I'm a little concerned that we're going to dilute the attention that we give these people when staff is starting to show up, and as Corky said, somebody is, you got a question for Scott. Actually, he stopped me in the hallway first and had a question for me. I'd like it to be a little bit more attention on the employees, and if we did something quarterly and followed the second meeting of the month, and, anytime you break food together, it always makes it, you get to know it. So maybe we order in pizza, maybe there's 12 of them a quarter or 15 a quarter, and we meet at 11 o'clock or 11:30 on the second meeting of the month, and if it comes out of the commissioner's budget, I think we can do that, can't we? If we can't, we'll figure it out. But to me, I'm gonna have a hard time I really use this time, as Corky said, to be prepared for the meeting and answering.
Yes.
It's almost always when you arrive, that somebody pulls you aside and has a question for you or a comment regarding an agenda item. We'd still be accomplishing that. It would just be a few more people at a time and with the little food.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
may I just kind of follow up with it? I think we're all in agreement. It's a great idea. It's a great idea, and we do want to connect with our staff, and our staff is the most important thing to us. There's no doubt, and Commissioner Gardner, I agree with you. Same feelings about the staff as you do, and I'm sure we all do. But we also have to function as a board, and I just think that we make big decisions here, and I always thought of this as board time. even though we're here early, and officially we started at 9. In my mind, this board starts earlier than that, just getting ready for that meeting. And it's gonna be just a lot of chaos and confusion, I think, as we move on. But we have them coming in here, there may be citizens coming here for the meeting because of an open, or a public hearing we have at the first of the agenda. We gotta change it right away now for June, right? Because of,
Well, I mean, this,
and then in July, I'm not sure how that works out. You know, so it's
I
no
think
simple way, anyway, so I'm thinking, you know, quarterly or every 2 months, a special time, 11 o'clock after one meeting, board meeting, we could do it.
my concern with having it after a board meeting is it's really tough to pinpoint. And then you're sitting and coordinating with all the supervisors. Okay, it's gonna be 11:30 now. And then you're messing with their schedules and that becomes really
Okay.
tricky. We talked about, that is one thing we did talk about.
We as in you in the department.
Correct, we, as in that.
But we can manage that. I mean, it's just like having a public hearing.
Right.
If it's scheduled for 11 o'clock, we have to stop and do it at 11 o'clock. So you and the chair have the control of the agenda, and so we can manage that second meeting to the point where, and if it's quarterly, it's even easier. You'd say, okay, that's the time when we, because I probably wouldn't participate if it's at 8:30 in the morning, to be honest with you. Not while I'm chair, I won't, because
But I think that's the whole point, is it doesn't have to be that formal. I think
Right.
if we're, each of us get a 5-minute or 3 minutes to say hi, I live up in the northwest part of the county and this is what I do. That's really, I think we're overthinking it. I do. I really think it's not that formal of a presentation.
Mr. Chair.
I'm with Dwayne, let's just try it.
That's what I was gonna say. I'd move that we try it 1 month.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to speak to as well. I think there's still other ways we can problem solve this. I really do. And maybe it could be, you mentioned having pizza. Maybe it'd be for lunch then. You would just plan lunch, once every 2 months at the last meeting or something. And we have pizza and we can go in one of the other rooms and we meet the people. But when you're talking about the people, you said 5 to 7 people maybe. Well, you say 3 minutes, 3 minutes each, that's a lot more time you think it is. And otherwise, it's just like shaking hands and saying, hi, nice to meet you. And because they're gonna be brushed off. And how do you feel if you're brushing off a staff person? Because you wanna get going on something else. So I think there's other ways to problem solve this, but I really think it's good that we have input and be asked for input and that we are different points of view. So whatever the board majority wants, I'm certainly will go work with that, no doubt about it. But
Well, and this was purely for discussion. I mean, this is where, there's no decision, but, I'll relay your input back to the department heads and I can report back, at another board meeting.
So as long as we're on that conversation of meeting, I brought up a couple meetings ago for discussion, and we never followed up on it, is our committee people that we recruit on and off, and appreciation for them. I think we need to follow up on that as well. If you say no, then maybe I'll do something on my own for the people, but I just think it's a great way for us to be able to continue to recruit people for those committees. It's not always easy. We have some openings right now, probably. But at the same time, show some appreciation for the time they put in. And to me, that's very important.
So, yeah, my comment was, this was supposed to be intended to be informal. And if you put them on an agenda item, then they're not just speaking to us or getting introduced to us, they're speaking out to the public. And I think they'd be more reluctant to come here then to do that, because as a new employee,
Let me
if they're
just-
20-something, they're not
I
used to
agree.
speaking publicly. And if we can just do it informally and before meeting, I'm fine with that. I mean,
But
it
but
just-
perhaps we misunderstood at least what I'm thinking is, I'm not thinking about them being on the agenda or even being in our meeting. I'm thinking about, we've adjourned our meeting and 11 o'clock, we go downstairs.
But we don't always adjourn at 11. I
But we
mean,
can
sometimes it goes till 12:30,
We
1
can,
o'clock.
we can
sometimes it's
arrange
like
that
10.
though, if we know that this is the month that we do this, we can arrange it with the chair and the administrator can arrange the agenda to make sure that we are done at a certain hour. I don't think we're giving them the justice of the time to really get to know, you know how conversations go. Oh, where do you live? Oh, I live up in Colfax Township. Oh, I didn't know that. Then you're practically my neighbor, and all of a sudden 10 minutes has gone by and you haven't talked to the other
Other
4
six,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, so, anyway, let's move on to any other administrative reports. Okay, Commissioner Gardner, you want to start?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Several things related to economic development and a couple of different events that I was able to attend since we last met. On the 10th, I took in the KCEO event that was held concurrent with the Chamber Connection. So KCEO is several school districts within our area here who encourage and help develop young entrepreneurs who are still in high school, and they go through an entire process of dreaming up a business plan, touring all sorts of different other businesses in and around our county and our region. And they had quite a number of students who had tables at at this event where they were demoing and talking to attendees about their businesses. And so I want to say they have, I don't know, probably 20 different students involved in this at any one time, and I believe it's Wilmer, New London, ACGC schools that have this involvement. And just a shout out to Aidan Wetston, his business, Mud Lake Motors, which is a small engine repair shop just outside of New London, was chosen as the KCEO Business of the Year. His parents are Tim and Janet Wetston. Aidan comes by his skill set pretty honestly. Tim was a tool distributor for many years in and around this region. And his grandfather, Francis, who happens to be my wife's uncle, was a mechanic in the Lake Lillian area for many years. So that was he was chosen by a vote of the attendees as well as his peers, and just wanted to congratulate Aidan and his family on that. Also attended the Elevate banquet along with Commissioner Berg for the graduates of that program. That's a program of Candiota County Economic Development. 20 graduates of the program this time around, and there were classes held both in English and Spanish. I want to say that we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 80, 85 graduates.
3, I thought, but go ahead, yes.
Of that program to date now, and they're already looking to put on the fall cohort. And so if you know of anyone who's looking to develop a business idea or enhance the opportunities for an existing business, the Elevate program has been just invaluable, especially to a lot of folks who are just really starting up from ground zero. And this has been, I think, a big boon to folks all across our community, especially the Latinx and East African and Karen communities are really taking advantage of this program, and I'm proud that that's a Candiota County Economic Development
Can I ask you a
program.
clarifying question? This is part of the EDC, but the KCEO is not part of EDC.
That's correct. And then the in regard to KCED, applications closed midnight Sunday for the executive director position, and I checked in yesterday. We have 14 applicants for that position, and I think that speaks volumes to the work that not only the commission has done, but that our executive director, Aaron Backman, has done. He's really elevated the profile not just the Economic Development Commission, but of Candy-Ojai County and of that position in and of itself. And so I'm excited for learning more about these applicants. There's a process in place. Aaron will be done at the end of June as the executive director. We will be without a director for a short period of time until that person that we select is able to come on board. And there is a recognition event scheduled for Aaron towards the end of June. And I've asked a couple of people, and they haven't gotten back to me yet to remind me when and where that is. But it's around the last week of June, and I believe it's going to be down at the Barn Theater. But we'll bring that back as needed. And just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Hot Creek Animal Shelter. The Humane Society is going to be celebrating its 50th year of service to Candy-Ojai and Meeker counties and the surrounding area. There will be events later this summer and fall, and more will be introduced then. That's all I have.
That's it.
So,
Remind me of, when is the next Joint Powers Board meeting? Well, while you look at that, we'll go to.
I'll find that for you.
I was,
Corky.
Go ahead, Shorty.
yeah, Commissioner Gardner, maybe you want to elaborate just briefly on the tours for the Family Resource Centers and the one in St. Cloud, because I didn't attend that, so
Sure, I can surely do that.
if I don't mind a little bit more, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. So a couple of weeks ago, and Administrator Baker was part of this as well, we took a look at a family resource center. That's something that has been a concept that we've heard about several times now at our AMC conferences. Got a look at, help me out with where we were at.
Scott Cody.
Thank you, Scott County. We took that one in and learned a little bit more about what they do. The saying was that if you've seen one family resource center, you've seen one family resource center. It's a flexible model, and it can be anything that your county needs. But there's a lot involved with looking at what that might how it would potentially be implemented here. And those are conversations that'll be ongoing with our staff and others as we move along. The second was a little something different. It was a COP house.
Community outreach.
Community outreach center. It was in a neighborhood in South St. Cloud that had seen quite a bit of crime over the past number of years. It was on the site of a house that eventually was torn down because it was such a problem house for the city. They built a brand new facility there, and it's really a neighborhood outpost. They do a lot of outreach to especially the youth and young adults and parents of that area, and it's really increased their presence within that community. It seeks to build a lot of community, and it was a nice area. That was a neighborhood that was under a lot of duress, and that's changed quite a bit now since they opened that up. So it wasn't really the same type of thing as we were looking at for a family resource center, but it was an interesting concept in and of itself. And one thing more that I did want to add, I forgot, it was the second page that I had here, regarding the tax forfeit issue. at the legislature. We did finally get our legislation passed. The settlement, $109 million to pay past claims that are generated by the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to essentially rule that our entire system of tax forfeiture was unconstitutional. So there's a class action lawsuit, and the legislature in reach and the Attorney General's office, the state reached agreement on the terms of that settlement to address statewide harms. Counties will be considered participants in this process unless they submit a formal request to not be included. That means you take on any possible litigation and liability. I don't think we'll be going down that road. We have a relatively small exposure compared to, for example, our friends in Hennepin and Ramsey County, or our friends up in Cook Lake, Couchiching counties, those areas up there. And that was passed and already signed by the governor. And then the remainder, which are the policy updates and essentially the new statutes regarding how we manage tax forfeited properties for the state moving forward. Those were jammed into the late night omnibus bill. AMC staff worked alongside our tax forfeiture work group members, as well as our folks in the legislature who were really driving this. And we're really, really thankful to everybody for their dedicated work on this. This was essentially the number 1, 2, and 3 priority of the General Government Committee, which I chair, and as well as the folks in Environment Committee. So now I'm done. Thank you.
Now, how do I follow that?
I'll just say this. I kind of asked you what time it was, not how to build a clock. So,
But
stick to your
Corky
committee.
started.
I started,
Then
I
you'll be
don't- yeah,
Corky started.
Corky's fault. All right. Middle Fork Watershed, I'm always intrigued when I go to that meeting. They are looking at putting a mini nano bubbler project in Atwater and get that done soon, within, I think, this next summer or for sure by fall. Just kind of to make sure that technology is going to work before they make that big investment in New London. There's a lake right in Atwater that has bad odor and is in tough shape. So they're looking at trying to see how it'll do. They got a portable like semi-trailer that they can just take and bring it to site and put the structure in the water and leave the pumps on the outside on this trailer. And if that would work, then they will use that in other areas also to try and take and hit it really hard for like 6-8 months and then see if it'll hold without having that running constantly in these little bodies of water. So kind of intriguing. They're always looking for new projects and new things. The thing that I guess I'm really impressed with is, they're working with the city of Belgrade right now. I know they didn't work in New London, in all these small towns to try and handle the water runoff from their roads and stuff to make sure that's all handled well. And I think if we didn't have these organizations to do that, that would never get addressed. So I think it's great that they take time to try and work on these small projects for these smaller towns that don't have the ability to do that. So that was one of my biggest things probably. I was unable to go to the Historical Society. I had a livestock issue I had to take care of, so I was unable to go to that one. We had a building committee on the 14th, continuing looking at different things to upgrade this building and other buildings in the county. Constant, I think, project that'll never end is different things that always need to be upgraded. The Chippewa Watershed meeting was actually canceled also, but just wanted to let everybody know that is in the process of review. And hopefully by November, that one watershed plan will be done. And then there'll be access to funding and start getting projects put into that watershed plan, just like there is in the Middle Fork, kind of the same thing. One thing that's not an actual committee meeting, but I want to bring it up, and it's been an important thing to me, which is up in my area, is I've been working with Marhaven Greens, which is a veteran golf course that is located on the county line, just north of my place. So if there's any veterans that want to take time to go golfing, it's only open to veterans, but it's open 7 days a week, and all they have to do is call or drive in, and they can take advantage of that facility. But I've been working with them, with the state and with the local veterans group to try and get a sign put up. And we actually found out that there is a group from Long Prairie that is going to make that sign for him. And we will hopefully get that put up yet by midsummer for advertising on how to get to that facility, which is a big win, I guess, in my mind. He got his signs taken off of the highway because it wasn't open to all public, and that's the rule for the state highway department now. So he was pretty depressed that he couldn't have signs, so this will be a big win, I think, for that facility. Prairie Woods is the other meeting that was held last night. A lot of things are changing and moving out there. They just hired a lady for the nature preschool directors for this coming fall, if we can get that put together. There's a lot of work being done on the buildings and grounds at Prairie Woods. We got a big chunk of money that they're looking at doing complete restore of the wildflowers to try and get the grounds to have more wildflowers in instead of just native grasses, and get it kind of refurbished from what it's been from when it was in CRP. They did receive the deed grant of $250,000 for the preschool, so that'll help out a lot with that. They just approved last night to do the master plan to look for an engineer firm for that, so that they can get that done for the trails proposal. And the other thing they're looking at doing is maybe putting a little bit different twist on their Prairie Stars event that they have in September for a fundraiser. Talked about that and membership drive. So if anybody wants to be a member of Prairie Woods, you just go to the website, and it's a really step through process to become a member of Prairie Woods. And it basically gets to be a donation to help out with Prairie Woods. Them are probably the biggest things. Just one thing I want to say in the future is there's a soil and water thing coming up on the 22nd, tomorrow night at 4:30. So if anybody is interested, that's at the Spicer Legion, as far as I remember, right? So, yes,
Mr.
Coach.
Chair, is there going to be a meal attached since it's over the supper hour? Or?
I don't know.
No, it goes from 4:30 to 7:30.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I didn't even look at that. Yeah, I don't know. But that's all I have.
Right, and that has, that's about the state of our lakes or something
Yep.
like that in the county?
Should sound like a good meeting.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson?
Yep, so I'll just talk about Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. I attended that via Zoom. It was on May 10th. It was a workforce development board. I'm not part of that, but I decided, well, they've been encouraging everybody to sit in on those because those meet monthly. And then just because of all the issues they've had. And so what's going on there right now, they're going to do they are doing a forensic audit with the state of Minnesota to, look at their books and kind of find out what kind of issues they had or what they find. And then also they're doing an annual audit right now. So that's basically my report. So.
Mr. Berg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first off, just want to briefly touch upon the legislative stuff. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all falls out. And I think we've all been following that really closely, the impact for our county. I think there's some good things possibly, but, once it boils down to us to see, does the money really get here, or is there too many strings attached for some of these programs? But I think we're all following it pretty close, and it's going to be probably better than we think it is. I'm hoping so. I don't know. Last time it was the same way, kind of, that like they didn't do very well, but it did work out fairly well for the county in several areas. So hopefully there's some good news out of that, and we'll just keep following that. I was part of the tour to the Shakopee in Scott County for the Family Resource Center, and there was a group of people that went, and from other different agencies or perspectives in our community, and I think that's what's so neat about this whole idea of putting together a Family Resource Center, and I'm sure we'll all be hearing more of that. We're going to be having a follow-up meeting a week from today, in going over, what now, and the bus that, yeah, it was a bus, I guess I'd call it a bus that the group took. I met them at Scott County, and they had a chance to talk even more, but it sounded like a good concept that we could pick up on, and we could start small and see how that goes. Scott County, I think they're doing it with a 0.6 time of an employee, and they got a grant dollars to do this, and they have really a nice facility, but they just happen to have that place that they could use. But we could look at other options and get other agencies involved. I could just see the YMC, I could see the PAC4, I could see the Area Foundation, of course, they're quite involved in this whole thing, and many other organizations as well. I had also in the EDC Joint Operations meeting, and I was the liaison for that meeting. Really not too much more to report on other than, with the EDC, there's a lot happening. And I happen to have on my calendar of June 25th from 4 to 6 was Aaron.
4 to 7, yep.
4 to
thank you.
7, okay.
At the barn.
At the barn.
I just
didn't
got an
have the
answer
barn
back.
part. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's a good update. And then and I had the 18 County Mental Health Consortium meeting in Marshall on the 10th, and that was basically a whole day meeting. And we will be hearing more about that in the board, and maybe at the next board meeting, have a presentation about that. They were redoing the bylaws and joint powers agreement, and also addressing the cash flow issues that we've been having. And there's been a lot of discussion on that, and it'll be interesting to see how the board feels about it. I think it's a program we have to try to keep together as 18 counties. It might be hard to keep 18 counties involved, and I'm expecting our county will continue to be involved in the good services that are happening there, and how the mental health centers help out so well in that area. I also had a meeting on the 13th with Commissioner Gardner about the bylaws for the mental health housing program by Woodland Centers, and looking at that and looking at the structure of that board that we have there. Instead of the full 5 commissioners, looking at other options for that, maybe 2 commissioners. So just to give you a heads up on that. And then for Commissioner Dwayne Anderson, I attended the Veterans Advisory Committee meeting. And that was very interesting, and thank you for the opportunity to go there. I was mostly a listener, and they had a good turnout, and Administrator Baker was there, and it's quite an asset, and had some very good suggestions for the group. Just to summarize it quickly, and maybe Administrator Baker, you could add to that too, that they did get a grant, and they're looking at some ways to maybe have some special events with those grants and some other planning. And it's interesting to hear all the different veteran services areas around the area, and everyone's a little bit different. How you turn in, you can get mileage for going to this appointment, but it's different if you go to another one and you just do this and use a kiosk or whatever. So it's interesting to see, but we had a good turnout and a very good group of veterans that are working on things, including the Bronze Star. There was a big discussion about the Bronze Stars on the graveyards, and with Memorial Day coming up, and we were short, but it sounded like they came up with a plan for those, so that's the good news. I also had a Prairie Lakes Youth Program, and that was a very long program, and we actually talked about some of the concerns for our facility, the Joint Powers facility over on the campus for the Prairie Lakes program, how it needs to be updated, or we need to look bigger than that and go some other place. They're doing well and stabilized. The other question is, do you want to get into, we serve the whole state with that program, but it's really a big benefit for Candiota County that our juveniles use that resource, and also the group homes that they have. They shared one story, successes they get back, and I'll just maybe add that. I should have brought it, but I would have to be so careful how I stated it. But this one lady wrote a letter that was shared with the board about 10 years ago. She was a member of in the group home, and she says, I think of the group home often. Now I live in another state, and I'm married, and I have several children, and I've been working in this position, and now I am enrolled and hoping to, in college, to become a professional in something, and she's getting close to doing that, and she's talked about how being the 2 years in the group home almost, I think it was, I'm just getting this off, remembering off the top of my head, but how she felt she learned so many different things about, caring and parenting there. And she says, I look there and I use the things I learned in that group home often. So it was kind of neat that, yes, these are why we're doing these things. These are why we're spending these tax dollars these way. And it does make a lot of difference. I also attended the Elevate program, and Commissioner Gardner explained that really quite well. Very interesting to be there. Just a nice job, nice graduates. Met several of the family members from the area and different backgrounds. It's just really, really well done. And okay, evaluate Prairie Lake Youth. That's pretty well close. There's a few more other, but I'm done.
Thank you. So, May 13th, I took part in a legislative update as provided by the Association of Minnesota Counties. That was a webinar. As they were going into those last week or so, they were asking us to be prepared to take action if needed. May 14th, I had the building subcommittee, which has already been talked about. And in May, there was 2 call for actions from AMC to reach out to our legislators, one on the forfeiture, tax forfeiture, and one on, I forget what it was right now. Might have been bonding, which unfortunately did not pass. And then on the 16th and 17th, last Friday and Thursday and Friday, I went down to AMC Futures. These are always really invigorating discussions on a lot of times future viewpoints, pertaining to counties. Futures consists of about 50 members from around the state, made up of administrators, commissioners, and department heads. In fact, some of you remember Ann Steen, who used to work for us. She's one of the members there. And this month, we kind of focused on 2 things. One is on joint powers and on workforce. And those things were chosen together for a reason, because of the innovation that is the potential for innovation with joint powers to cut costs and to be able to supply counties with enough staff. The presenter was the Hennepin County Administrator, David Huff, and he made a point of saying, you really don't know where you're at unless you track the number of kind of your turnover at your county in terms of staff. How many openings do you have a year, and graph that for a 5-year period? How many resignations? How many involuntary departures, and all of that, so kind of where your trend is for staffing and whether or not you're meeting your needs. And in fact, he gave us a card I can share with another time. We also received a legislative update from the staff while we were there. And when Futures adjourned on Friday, I had a little bit of time, and I went over to the Capitol. I was going to sit in the gallery and watch the Senate floor debate regarding the tax forfeiture thing. And hour and a half later, I was still sitting in the hallway waiting for them to get done with one topic, take a recess, and it's like, I got to go, sorry. But the place was amazing on those last days. I walked in and thought, there's a riot going on. The Uber people were walking around the Capitol for hours chanting, and it was noisy, and it's a crazy time. And our staff, worked till late hours of the night. So then the end of the legislative session was Sunday night. There was some successes for the county. Broadband, one of the concerns that we had for broadband, there's $65 million coming to the state of Minnesota from the BEAD program. And it's a federal program. And initially it was, one of the things you had to do is to use prevailing wages in your, and so we were granted a waiver. So the prevailing wages does not have to happen for broadband work, which was a huge win. One of the few that we got, there was $30 million that ended up in the EMS funding, more than the governor was asking for, but far less than what both houses were asking for. And then, of course, we didn't get a bonding bill, which is a big deal because the Public Finance Authority, which provides grant for wastewater, that could affect us by $4 million at the Glacier Lake Sanitary Sewer and Water District. That's where our road and bridge funding comes from. Our local road improvement plan money comes from the bonding bill, and at this point, we don't have one. And then yesterday was the county's providing technology, or CPT. We approved updated bylaws. There was a couple of things in there that were a little out of date, and so we got them up to par. And so there was about 5 of us that had attended that cybersecurity conference in St. Cloud, and there's no fooling around about that cybersecurity. And speaking with Scott out in the hallway before the meeting today, he said that we're really in a pretty good position. Not that we're totally, out of the woods of any future things, it's all the new stuff. But he said one of the founders and former partners of CPT, before it was CPT, it was a private company that the counties that own it now bought, was sort of a specialist in security. And so he's providing a lot of the security for not only us, what's it called? Morris Technologies, I think is what it's called. And they do it for other counties too, but just something to continue to pay attention to.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I don't think you did the recap when we came out of closed session.
say what?
You didn't do the recap when you came out of closed session?
The recap of the closed session.
That there was no discussion, or no decision?
Okay. And we haven't adjourned yet, so I can still do that now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. And then, the other thing we have, of course, we'll have another meeting between now and then, but, the district meeting is coming up in June. And today is the beginning of the filing period, so anybody who wants to run for, office, several of the state and local offices, today is the beginning, and June 4th will be the end date for a filing period. And so the summary regarding the closed session and the discussion of the county courthouse building was that we will continue to have discussions about the future of that building with no decisions of any kind being made, but only that we would have discussions to see how that building can best be utilized going forward. So if there's no other business to come before the board. Oh, I thought I saw a hand go up out of the corner of my eye. We will adjourn.